Hey everyone, look, we're back in our old little setting where we do our Mindset Mondays. And today I want to share with you a very special topic because I think that there is a trend around this topic and there's opportunity for you as a leader to capitalize on this topic or also see how it relates to your life. And it's called rust out. We've all heard of burnout, where you feel overwhelmed, stressed out to the point where you just start to break down mentally, physically, emotionally, or maybe all of the things, right? But there is little talk around this thing called rust out. However, rust out is just as detrimental to you if you're going through this or to your staff. And so I wanted to share with you what it is and then some opportunities for yourself or your staff that you lead in order to kind of avoid this rust out, which eventually still ends up having the same implications as burnout does and the same financial implications, staffing implications, all the things that burnout does. But before I get started, if you don't already know, we have the Leading in Healthcare mentorship open right now. The doors are open for enrollment. We start in August, so we start after spring break. You have no excuses. This mentorship is an 8-week mentorship where you are learning not only the tactical things that you need to be a better leader that you've probably never been taught, like how to motivate your team, how to communicate with your team, how to have difficult conversations with your team, how to time manage, organize yourself, all of that kind of stuff, evaluation, blah, 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 blah. We all know the things that we have to do on the day-to-day as leaders. But this is the part that you also probably have been missing out on. And it's learning how to develop a high performance psychology, internal psychology as a leader, so that you are able to come to work, show up, perform at your best, but do it in a way where you don't feel like you are depleting yourself, mind, body, and soul as you bring your all to your job in order to make an impact. What is the benefit of that? Not only are you able to show up and perform optimally, you are able to add value as a leader. You are able to have more impact as a leader, and you are able to do it in a way where you are maintaining your mind, body, and soul. And if you're maintaining your mind, body, and soul, then guess what that has? The benefit it has for the long term is you are able to not only maintain your health and protect your health from that chronic stress that we all are dealing with the dynamic changes and things that we have to deal with in healthcare, but you also have this energy and this time to pour back into the things that matter to you. And maybe that is you yourself because you lost yourself and your family and your job and all the things that and forgot that connection to yourself. Or maybe you do just have things in your life, relationships, family that you want to show up for in a way where you're not irritable, tired, stressed out, not present, all of the things. So, if this sounds like something that would be interesting to you, again, the doors are open for the Leading in Health mentorship. If you are watching this video, then there is information scrolling across the screen that will give you the website on how you can learn more about this and enroll. Secondarily, if you are listening to this Mindset Monday episode through the podcast, there should be information in the show notes for you to be able to enroll in the mentorship. Now, without further ado, let's talk about rust out. And I actually have an article from Psychology Today that I'm just going to refer to, not for my own personal expertise and the opportunities I'm going to share with you that I think you can use to use this to your advantage. But I just want to give you a quick definition of rust out, because we all know that about burnout, right? I already mentioned that. So rust out stems from boredom, monotony in your routine, or a sense of dissatisfaction with your career. The issue that we need to know as leaders, or you need to recognize in your personal life, is what I mentioned. The implications of rust out, of having yourself or your staff that are bored, they're not working to the top of their scope. They are in a monotonous routine without much change, without much creativity, without much growth, without much evolution, or maybe a sense of dissatisfaction about where they are. Or again, maybe you're feeling that internally in your own psychology, what it ends up doing is leading to a drop in individuals' performance, a lack of motivation, and even the same mental health issues that you experience with burnout, like depression or anxiety. And guess what? That's money on the table. That's lack of resources. That's you having to pick up the slack for your peers or your team, or the people that you lead having to pick up the slack for somebody that is not being stretched in their career. And it's often the result of these insidious things that go on in our lives that we just kind of let compound until we can't take them anymore. I recently did a talk at a conference on little known ways to prevent stress or get over stress. And one of the things that I spoke about was oftentimes because we spend so much time at work, we think that a lot of the things that we have to deal with around this boredom, monotony, burnout, stress, all the things is solely linked to our job. And it's not usually just linked to the job. Um, that's a topic for another discussion, but I wanted to put that out there because a lot of times you don't understand that this is creeping up on you until you get to the place where you feel irritable, depressed, tired, lack of sleep, lethargy, just all of those things going on. So, rest out is important to you professionally and personally, but it's also important to you as a leader. So let's first talk about what you can do if you have a team member that has what you think may be rust out. Rest out to me is an opportunity. It's an opportunity for you to see that, especially if you're an overwhelmed leader, that there may be things on your plate that you find that you can do them. So why aren't you doing them? Or you may look at your team and you may feel that they have a lot on their plate. And so if you ask them for help with the things on your plate, that you're adding to their workload. However, this is an opportunity for you and for your team member that you think may be experiencing burnout to actually turn a situation around and make it a win win. When you have all of these things on your plate, sometimes you're not the best person to do them, even though you can do them. If you have someone on your team that excels at what they do and they're not being stretched, they're not being, groomed to grow into a higher role or being challenged enough, one of the greatest things that you could do that's a win win for you and them is get together with that team member and find out what it is that's on your plate that you could delegate to this person. And I have a whole video on delegation. I did an episode, a podcast or video on delegation, but this is a perfect opportunity for you to use delegation as a tool to not only take some things off your plate so that you can be more focused and more on point for all the other things that you have to do. But this is an opportunity for you to give someone else that is ready for a challenge, that is ready to grow and stretch and groom themselves for that next step in their career, to be able to have experience doing something that is out of the mundane, everyday boredom type of stuff that they experience on a day in, day out. I was recently working with a team that they were very autonomous. They knew their job very well. And yes, they were busy and things were going a mile a minute. Things were changing all the time and they just had to keep up. And that was a very stressful and dynamic environment for them to be in. But at the same time, it was the perfect opportunity for us to introduce not only some principles where we could do process improvement to become more lean, to become more efficient, so that we could get more done in a better way and not burn ourselves out, but also that also let some other team members that I could see were ready to step into different leadership roles because they were proficient at what they did on the day in, day out, to actually try some new things. For me to give them some things that were on my plate, of course, with support, with guidance, and all of the things. But then what that then allowed me to do was to have time to be more creative, to actually think outside of the box, to get them the support, the tools, the structure, the efficiency, all the things that they need from me as a leader so that they can be more successful. So even though we ended up adding some things on our plate, or there were certain individuals that wanted to take on more projects around this work, it didn't feel like work for them because they were doing something new, they were doing something exciting, they were doing something where they got to see the results of their ideas, their labor, all of the things. It also was good because I was able to be more strategic for them and they could see my benefit, the impact that I was having by helping them stretch and think and grow and all the things. So if you feel like there's employees that are on your team and no matter what, they just don't seem involved, they don't care, they just want to clock in and clock out and they don't want to go above and beyond, think about this for a minute. Is it because they might be bored? Is it because they might be doing monotonous things day in, day out? Are they being stretched to move into different roles? Have you talked to them about what their ambitions are? A lot of the times we just want to think that people don't care about their jobs when as leaders sometimes it's our job to meet them where they are and help bring them up in a way that is meaningful for them to be able to contribute more or want to contribute more to the team. So that is number one, the benefit, how you can use rust out and turn it around and benefit not only you and your workload, value to your organization, money savings to your organization, stress savings to you and your team, and then bring up more leaders within your organization, which is a good thing, right? Because they're going to leave if you don't do it within, right? So then the second thing that I want to touch on, and this is a very deep topic, we could probably talk for a long time about this, but we're not. I want you to think about yourself. And if you are not happy with your job or saying that you're not happy with your job when in fact, if you dug a little bit deeper, you're not happy where you are professionally and maybe personally because as human beings, we were meant to stretch, we were meant to evolve, we were meant to grow. And if you have become proficient at your job and expert at your job, and I'm not talking you go to a little CEUs and you read an article, if you're not growing, stretching, evolving, creatively expanding as a leader and as a person, then you are going to be bored. You are going to be dissatisfied. You are not going to be happy where you are in life. And the problem is we haven't been taught to examine our lives in this way because we've always been taught or conditioned for the most part. You go to school, you climb the ladder, you get a good job, you write that job out, you retire, the end, right? But that's not how we were designed as human beings. And so for the second part of the discussion for rest out, I want you to look at yourself. And if you find that you're feeling this stress and dissatisfaction and your performance is slipping and you seem disengaged and disinterested, really examine your life, really examine your career, and really examine if you are challenging and evolving, or are you living the same day after day, week after week, month after month, year after year. And if there's something that you need to do to stretch yourself, to evolve, to grow, all the things. And of course, that's going to take a lot more introspection and reflection. However, it is worth it in the end. And we could go on a big long topic because maybe some of that dissatisfaction, all the things is because you are doing what you thought was the right thing to do based on your conditioning, your upbringing, your culture, blah, 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 blah. But when you start to connect to yourself authentically, you may find that there's more out there for you. There's more that you really want to do. Your heart is pulling you to stretch and grow, and maybe you just have not been honoring that call. So I'm going to leave it at that. I just wanted to kind of put the plug in your ear about rest out, because if you are someone that is concerned with resources, staffing, your workload, the workload of your team, then this is something that you want to have on your radar because it has the same detrimental impact to your team and yourself as burnout. If you want to learn more or go deeper about some of the things that you need to know to help make you a more effective, efficient leader, but also to help you tap back into how you not only connect to yourself, your authenticity, your leadership style, your mindset, your psychology, so that you can show up as a leader while you are doing all the things, time managing, organizing, all the things that I talked about in the beginning, really consider one of two options. Number one, first and foremost, is the Leading in Healthcare mentorship. I think it would be a good fit for leaders that are either new leaders, aspiring leaders, or leaders that have been doing what they've been doing for a while and just feel like they need a different set of tools, a different set of support, a community accountability where you have the safe space where you feel heard, where you feel seen, but you also are getting valuable tools to help you grow not only in your career, but also in your professional life. So that's the first option, the leading in healthcare mentorship. As always, secondarily, if you want to work with me or my team on a more personal level, then there's private options available. And then there's also options available where I can come into your organization and facilitate workshops, teaching, what have you, on the things that I teach here on my platform and on the Mindset Mondays. All right, so that is all for today's episode. If, as always, if you have comments, questions, anything, leave me the comments or questions wherever you're watching this video, listening to the podcast, and I will make sure to get right back with you. Otherwise, I will talk to you in the next episode. Take care.